Hi friends, welcome back, or if you're new here, my name is Destiny, and today I'm going to bring you my July haul. This was actually a pretty good haul month for me. I got a lot of e-arcs and a lot of Kindle sales, and I also purchased a few things. But I do have a lot to go over today, so I'm going to try to go through them really quickly so this video is not too long. Also, a lot of these books were either discussed in my mid-month wrap-up or will be discussed in my end-of-month wrap-up, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on those. But jumping right in, I'm going to start with the books that I bought this month, and the first thing I bought was Fence Rivals. Next, I found this on such a good sale price, and that is the illustrated edition of The Lightning Thief, the first Percy Jackson book. I love big illustrated editions like this, and so I've been wanting to get this for a while, so when I saw that it was only $8, I had to go ahead and grab it. Next is another one that I found on sale. I finally got a copy of Front Desk by Kelly Yang. Try to get that where you can see without the glare. It's such a cute cover. This is a middle grade contemporary about a girl whose parents work for a hotel, and she works the front desk at the hotel, and they clean and manage the hotel, but they also hide undocumented immigrants there. This won the Children's Literature Award, and I feel like I've just heard a lot of really good things about this, and I really enjoy middle grade stories like this. Plus, it's just so freaking cute. Like, I can't with this cover. It is so adorable. Next, this is a book that I actually pre-ordered the ebook of and enjoyed it so much that I went ahead and bought the physical copy, and that is The House on Abigail Lane by Kaylin Patrick Burke. I'm trying to slowly collect the paperbacks of all of Kaylin's books, so I went ahead and got this for my collection. I also got The Green Witch by Erin Murphy Hiscock. This is pretty self-explanatory. It's her book on green witchcraft, such as herbalism, plant magic, essential oils, stuff like that. I am not actually that big into green witchcraft. However, I do want to learn more about it, and I've really enjoyed what I've read of her books so far. And then the last physical book that I bought this month was True Life. This is the third book in the Lifelike series by Jay Kristoff. I still have to read the second book, but I heard that it ended on a cliffhanger, and I don't know, but I know that Jay does love his cliffhangers, so I figured I would have this one on standby for whenever I do continue the series. I also received a few arcs in the mail, such as Body Talk. This is the new nonfiction anthology edited by Kelly Jensen, and it just collects different essays and memoir snippets about diverse bodies, such as being fat, eating disorders, disabilities, cancer, just all different kinds of things that could have to do with the body. I really enjoyed Kelly's collection, Don't Call Me Crazy, which was all about mental health issues. And so when I saw that this was coming out, I was very excited about it, and I'm really happy to have this. I was also sent the new re-release edition of Kushiel's Dirt by Jacqueline Carey. This is the new mass market, as you can see. It's a little chunker. I think this is like 1,000 pages, but I've been meaning to check out the series forever. This is the first book in a series about a woman who was born into servitude, but is bought by a nobleman who wants to turn her into a spy. And honestly, I don't really know much more than that about the synopsis, and I didn't want to look too deeply into it because it is an older series. I think this originally came out in the 90s, and so I figured if I went digging too deep, I was probably going to end up spoiled for the series. And I will say, I'm usually really iffy about mass markets because they're usually, you know, it's really hard not to crack the spine and everything, but this is actually like really floppy. I don't think I've ever had a mass market paperback that was this floppy, and so I really like that. It looks like it's actually going to be really easy to read. I was also sent an arc of Crossroads by Laurel Hightower. This comes out August 10th. This was phenomenal. I don't remember if I discussed this in my mid-month wrap-up or my end-of-month wrap-up, but it'll be in one of those videos, and it was really great. This is a horror novella about a woman who is grieving the loss of her son, so she ends up going to some really unspeakable, desperate measures to try to get more time with him, and it is very poignant, very sad, and really spooky at the same time, and I highly recommend it. And then the last arc that I received was actually an unsolicited one that I hadn't even heard of before it showed up on my doorstep, but once I started doing some research, I'm so sold on it. And that's Architects of Memory by Karen Osborne. This is the first book in a new series, and I believe this is the author's debut. This is a dystopian sci-fi series, and I know that it features a bisexual main character who is dealing with a terminal illness, and basically she's trying to fight her way out of corporate servitude long enough to seek out a cure for her illness. So one, this is queer, and I do believe that it features a sapphic romance, but two, there is a blurb on the sales sheet that they sent me from K.A. Door that says, a non-stop dystopian space opera adventure that screams fuck capitalism at the top of its lungs. That's all I really needed. Like, thank you, K.A. Door. I'm sold. So that was it for all the physical books that I hauled this month, and then I also hauled some digital books, starting with a few audio review copies that I received. I got Empire of Wild by Sherry Demeline, being pitched as a messed up Little Red Riding Hood retelling, but when I did a little bit more research, it looks like it's actually a retelling of a Métis story, and it follows a woman whose husband has been missing for a year, when one night she suddenly finds him in a revival tent preaching about Jesus, and he swears that he isn't her husband and that he doesn't know her anymore. So she has to kind of get to the bottom of what happened to her husband and why he doesn't remember her. I also got This Is My America by Kim Johnson. This is a YA contemporary story about a girl named Tracy who has spent the last 7 years petitioning to get her father taken off of death row because they know that he's innocent for the crime that he's been accused of committing. With less than a year until her father's execution date, the police come in the middle of the night and take her brother, accusing him of murdering a white girl in town. Tracy's absolutely adamant that there is no way that her brother could have done this. Like, she knows that he's innocent, so she takes it upon herself to solve the mystery of what happened that night before her brother becomes yet another innocent black man lost to an unfair justice system. I have heard that this is absolutely heartbreaking. I've heard that this is incredible, that the audio narration is really good. I haven't read anything by Kim Johnson before, but I am really looking forward to this. Next, I got The Voting Booth by Brandy Colbert. I was a little bit apprehensive at first because it is a romance that takes place all in one day, and I tend to be a little bit iffy on those sometimes. Like, I wasn't really big on The Sun Is Also a Star. That said, I've just heard so many good things about this, and the audiobook is so short. I think it's like 4 hours or something at 1x. Anyways, this is a YA romance about a girl who is a voting rights activist, and one day she's at the polls and she sees another teenager get turned away from his polling place, and so she takes it upon herself to find a way to get his voice heard because she knows that he has the right to vote and that he needs to be able to exercise that right. And so I guess as they're going around town trying to find a place that's going to like let him vote and not turn him away, I think in the process they started to develop some feelings for each other. And so, I mean, this sounded cute anyways, but then add on top of the fact that I live in a state that is known for its voter suppression, so this is something that is very personally important to me, and I think it's really important that a book is being released about it. And then the last audiobook that I got was The Switch by Beth O'Leary. This is an adult contemporary romance about a woman and her grandmother deciding to trade places for 2 months. So the grandmother goes to live in the big city and the granddaughter goes to live in this kind of rural area. And honestly, this just sounds so precious. I need more books starring grandmothers as main characters because grandma characters are usually my favorite kinds of characters, but also I really loved the flat share so much, so I'm hoping that I'm gonna love this just as much, if not more. I'm so sorry if my camera angle just changed drastically. Filming with cats is hard. I got a few really exciting e-arcs this month too. Some of these, like I said, have already been discussed in my mid-month wrap-up, or I'm going to discuss them in my end-of-month wrap-up, so I'm just going to go through those really quickly. But first, the ones that I haven't gotten a chance to talk about yet. Truly, the Edelweiss gods have just looked down upon me with favor this month because, y'all. I got Kingdom of the Wicked by Carrie Maniscalco. This comes out in October, and this is easily one of my most anticipated 2020 releases because I absolutely love the Stalking Jack the Ripper series. This is the first book in Carrie's new series, which is historical fantasy. In this book, we meet a witch named Amelia, who sets off on a revenge mission after finding her sister's murdered corpse. Her path to revenge ends up leading her to a sort of unlikely companionship with a Wicked, which are basically princes of hell. I don't know if they're people, if they're sorcerers, if they're demons. I'm really hoping they're demons. I also got an e-arc of The Project by Courtney Summers, which comes out in, I want to say February. This is a new YA thriller about a girl who needs to save her younger sister from a cult. However, when she gets to the cult to try to save her, she ends up getting sucked into it, and before long, she can't tell what's reality anymore and what is the cult's influence. I love stories about cults, and I loved Sadie so much that I just feel like at this point there's no way Courtney Summers can let me down. I also got When No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole. This comes out September 1st, and yes, this is the Alyssa Cole of romance fame. I'm not 100% sure, but I think this is her first time writing anything that's not romance, so I'm really interested to see how she does with this, but I've only heard good things so far. This is being compared a lot to Get Out, the movie, which honestly was enough to sell me all by itself because I adore that movie. But this is a thriller about the effects that gentrification has had on this woman's neighborhood as her neighbors start to go missing. I love thrillers and horror stories that have kind of a social commentary on real life issues such as racism and gentrification. So yeah, I'm very here for this. I also got Dustborn by Erin Bowman, which comes out in April. I'm not sure if this is the first book in a new series or if this is a standalone, but I really loved both of her last duologies, so I have really high hopes for this. It takes place in a Western dystopian setting, which sounds like such a cool genre mash to me. And all I really know about it is that it features a girl who has to go and save her family from the evil dictator of the Waste. I also got Remote Control by Nnedi Okorafor. This comes out in January, and this is a new SFF novella of hers. This is about a young woman who is adopted as Death's daughter after she comes in contact with an alien artifact. Also, apparently her only companion is a fox. And 1, yes please, thank you. 2, I need to know, when did authors stop writing lots of books featuring main characters who have animal sidekicks? Because honestly, I miss animal sidekicks being like a really common theme in fantasy books, and I need that to come back. I also got The Infinity Courts by Kemi Dawn Bowman. This comes out in April, and I believe this is Kemi's first foray outside of contemporary books. I really loved her first 2 contemporary books. I still need to read the most recent one, but this is the book of hers that I have been the most excited for ever since she started teasing about it a few years ago. It's the first book in a new sci-fi series, and it features a main character who has just been murdered. The book actually takes place in the afterlife. She has to navigate the afterlife to try to destroy this evil AI that has basically come into power and is trying to destroy humanity. There are so many different themes in what I just said that have all individually sold me on this book, plus Kemi's writing is so gorgeous. I also got Daphne Burnt by Laura Marks. This is an upcoming horror graphic novel, and this is about a woman who joins a grief support group, but I think it turns out to be a demonic cult. Not really sure. It has really bad ratings so far on Goodreads. So we'll see how that goes. And then the rest of the e-arcs that I've gotten were ones that I discussed in my mid-month wrap-up. I got A Gentle Noble's Vacation Recommendation Volume 1 by Masaki. There Are Things I Can't Tell You by Idaku Mofumofu. Fangs by Sarah Anderson. Witchcraft Cocktails by Julia Helena Hadas. And The Complete Grimoire by Lydia Pradas. I gave all 5 of those either 4 or 5 stars, so I really enjoyed those. So if any of those piqued your interest and you haven't seen my mid-month wrap-up for July, I'll link that below so you can go and check out my reviews for those, because those were all really good and I recommend all of them. Okay, and thank you for hanging in there because we're almost done. All that's left are my Kindle purchases and a couple of freebies that I got this month. I bought Worst Laid Plans, which is a new horror anthology featuring all horror stories about summer vacations gone wrong. I bought Unboxed by Brianna Morgan. This is actually a play in novella form, and it is about a paranormal vlogger who buys a mystery box from the dark web and gets a little more than he's bargained for. I'm actually hoping to go ahead and read this within the next day or 2 because it sounds so cool, and I really love horror that deals with technology in the dark web. I got The Bridge Kingdom by Danielle L. Jensen. This is a new adult fantasy romance that I've heard so many people rave about so far, and it is about this young woman who's been raised her entire life preparing to go off and marry this wicked king and murder him and stop the evil that's happening in the kingdom. But when she does finally marry him and get to know him, she realizes that he is not actually the evil that's plaguing the kingdom, and there's a lot more going on behind the scenes than she realized. I also got Chills by Mary Sangiovanni. This is the first book in a series of hers that I believe is pitched as being thriller meets cosmic horror. My mom absolutely adores this author and has been begging me to check out some of her work forever, so I went ahead and got that. I also got True Blue by Melissa Foster. This is a new adult romance about a man who has just been released from prison for a crime that he did not commit. And when he gets out, he realizes that his family is in shambles and he has to do something to save them. Enter a woman who wants to help him take care of his siblings, but he really doesn't feel like he has any room in his life to trust anybody or to let anybody in. So I guess this is kind of like a reluctant slow burn romance. Again, I have a knack for picking up books that are the first book in a series and then later finding out that that series spins off of other series, and apparently the other series are really important before you read this series. So I don't know if I can start with this book or not. So if anybody has read these books, please let me know in the comments whether or not you think I could just go ahead and start with this one. I also got Graveyard Smash. This is an anthology of horror stories all written by women. I got New Girl in Town by Rebel Carter because I've heard a lot of my friends rave about Rebel Carter's writing. This is an age gap romance between an older woman and a younger man. I think she's like almost 40 and he's in his late 20s. I also got Forest of Bones by Jesse Thomas. This is, I believe, a YA or maybe new adult horror novella, and it is a wintry horror story, and I love horror set in the winter, so I'm already adding this to my seasonal TBR for winter. But it's about a woman who is so obsessed with cryptids that she goes off to seek out the Covey Devil. and I guess shenanigans ensue. And then the last thing I hauled was Mask of Shadows by Lindsay Miller. A few of my friends have been begging me to read this for a long time. This is a YA fantasy story about a gender fluid thief who wants to seek revenge against the queen, so they decide to infiltrate the queen's court of assassins and basically audition to become a new assassin. However, when they get there, they happen to fall in love with a scribe who lives at the palace. Okay, and that's it. That is my far too long July haul. I would love to say the August haul will be much smaller, but honestly, I have a few books on the way to me because I did a little bit of shopping over the last few days. Basically, I just desperately need to stay off of NetGalley and Edelweiss this month. Like, I just really need to stay off of there and stop getting so many e-arcs. But anyways, I hope that you enjoyed this video. I would love to hear about what you hauled this month, so definitely come talk to me in the comments or just say hello. Let me know how your day's going. And if you did enjoy this, please don't forget to click like and subscribe. It means so much to me. But as always, thank you so much for watching, and I can't wait to talk to you in another video soon. Bye!